Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is the latest Manchester United news. I was just inadvertently live on Twitch. If you saw it, well done. We are on YouTube now. Look, lots to talk about tonight. Conte being snubbed. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has spoken to Sky Sports defiantly. How do we think we're going to line up against Spurs? Can Solskjaer turn this around? So much to talk about on the show tonight. And literally, just before I went live as well, a story coming out from Paul Hurst, I think it is, who's a journalist who isn't too bad in relation to Manchester United, saying that unless there's a big upturn in form and results, Solskjaer will get dismissed. So lots and lots to talk about. Also, I just want to talk about some of these managerial replacements, which there was a story in the Telegraph as well talking about that. Some ridiculous names being mentioned, and something I just read there that I think is very true. The mad thing is, if David Moyes hadn't mentioned Manchester United, I guarantee some fans would be mentioning David Moyes, which just shows you've got to be very careful about who you put forward. And also, I think let's just talk about the embarrassment of the week as well, which is it's been a very embarrassing week for Manchester United, of course. But look, before we get into all that, and Conte has been snubbed, so we'll start off with that point as well as Ollie's interview. The show is sponsored by Boohoo Man. As you can see, I'm wearing one of their new activewear ranges. I like it because it's quilted. I mean, I've just literally been out for a walk and I had this on and it's a bit thin on the arms, but the quilted bit is great for running. So it's like quilted there, which is great for this time of the year. So today's show is sponsored by Boohoo Man. They always bring in something United rated. And as I'm sure you're aware now, Boohoo Man have an awesome range of reasonably priced activewear called, unsurprisingly, Boohoo Man Active, which is what I'm wearing now. I'm wearing some right now, as I say. It's comfy. You can wear it in the gym. You can wear it if you're on a run. You can wear it if you're playing five-a-side. Loads of stuff you can get your hands on. And as I say, I've just got hold of this, which is really nice because it's just nice. I feel like hugging myself. It's quilted. Oh, yes. I love it. Oh, yes. Anyway, enough of that. So we now know that Boohoo Man Active range is excellent value for money, but Boohoo Man have put together a list of players they feel represent the worst value Manchester United signings ever. I need your help on this, so let's see if we agree. Their third worst value signing of all time is Massimo Tabi, who was a goalkeeper we brought in, I think, from Torino, Italy. I think it was in the sort of like the early noughties when we were trying to replace Schmeichel. Second worst value signing of all time is Beppe, who I believe was homeless at some point. All I remember about Beppe is him sitting on the bench with Obertan playing on their phones. And the worst value signing of all time, Alexis Sanchez. So do you agree with that? I mean, to be honest with you, when we're talking about worst value signing of all time, I think Alexis Sanchez, because we made him the best paid player of all time, was ridiculous. And he wasn't technically free because we swapped him with Mkhitaryan, and Mkhitaryan would have had a value of about 30 million. So there was really technically a transfer fee and his wages were extortionate. I'd throw Di Maria in that argument ahead of Beppe. I'd certainly put Di Maria in there. We bought him for 60. We sold him for 44 a year later. So, stupid, lost 15 million. Schneidlin, 25 million, I thought was a big waste of money as well. You could even make a case for Harry Maguire. Now, it doesn't have to be that they're a bad player, but have we bought an £80 million centre-back? No, we massively overpaid for Harry. And I rate him, I think he's good. But value for money, did we get £80 million out of him? Because that's what value for money is about. So it doesn't mean they have to be a bad signing. Di Maria's not a bad player, is he? He's a very good player. But value for money we didn't get. So maybe opening up that question there. But certainly getting the chat with yours. As always, Boohoo Man have given United Stand viewers an amazing 40% discount that you can use by clicking the link in the description and using the code UNITEDSTAND at checkout. Thanks very much to Boohoo Man. I love the way that they always look to do something which is interactive for us on their integrations. And as I say, you could get yourself a quilted top for the winter that you can go for a walk or run in. Boohoo Man, linked in the video description. 40% off with the code United Stand. Loads of stuff you can get on there, leggings, the lot. So check it all out. But fine, let's get on with the show. So I want to fly straight in. Look, this is coming from the Telegraph. Lots to talk about tonight. I want to talk about Ollie's comments because I'm not happy about that. I want to talk about Conte. I want to talk about whether Ollie can turn this around because I think we've got to be grown up on this channel. We always are grown up. We've had a week of, really, I find it quite a stressful week. I'm sure many of you have. But look, Ollie's the manager tomorrow. We've got to get into a mindset of how we're going to deal with this as a fan base. How are we going to deal with this as a fan base? So we need to discuss that as well. But I just want to say as well, it's over now. He didn't get the sack. He's the manager tomorrow, and I want us to win tomorrow. But looking back on the week, just briefly before I talk about the Conte snubbing and everything else, looking back on the week, I've got to say, and I take Zayn Miasi's there laughing again. Anyway, we have had a week that I take away from Ollie. Ollie's at the wheel, says Nishant. Well, this is the problem. We've had a week that the club, the board, have completely embarrassed us. This is not Solskjaer. Solskjaer can't sack himself. So I don't blame. I'm taking this away from Ollie on this point. What an embarrassing week it's been for Manchester United Football Club. Whether you're a fan, or, whatever your stance is, it's been an embarrassing week for Manchester United. If you don't think it's an embarrassing week for Manchester United, then you don't know what you're on about, because we've been hammered by Liverpool, who took it lightly on us at 5-0. We've had Leeds fans, Man City fans, whatever fans in the Carabao Cup singing Ollie's at the wheel. And yet our manager is still in charge. That's an embarrassment on the part of the board. And the reason Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in charge is because, embarrassingly, the board had no plan at all. They literally, after the Leicester game, after the Atalanta game, going into the Liverpool game, had zero plan or contingency plan to replace Solskjaer. They walked into that Liverpool game like a lamb to the slaughter, basically. They had no idea. And they woke up on Monday morning going, oh my God. And they've come out at the end of the week with Ollie still in charge. And they've embarrassed themselves. So whatever you think about Ollie, whatever you think about the players, whatever you think about the arguments you're having with fans, remember, Ed Woodward and co have embarrassed this club beyond belief this week. They've made it acceptable for our rival fans to be singing out about our manager, and they've made it acceptable for us to get humiliated at Old Trafford by our biggest rival 5-0, of which that's not happened since the 1940s. So, it has been a very embarrassing week, and I'll be very happy to put it behind us, although who knows what tomorrow's brings. Go easy on Ollie Mark. He was just a child that won 99. Just go easy on Ollie Mark. He was just a child when he made champions, so just go easy on Ollie Mark, says Liam Deegan. I don't know what tune that's meant to be. Mark, the big thing that we all know tomorrow is how the players really feel about this situation. There is a good chance they down tools tomorrow, says Brad Lewis. I don't know why Ollie bought a 75 million player and doesn't play him. In my opinion, he is better than Rashford, and I love Rashford, says Flashy. And off subject, Mark, but Ollie in his youth is such a myth. His first actual signing was Hannibal from Monaco, and apparently we picked over Camavinga at the time. Camavinga is far more established now, says Jay. Yeah, but where's the establishment for Hannibal Mabry to get, anywhere near what Camavinga is when he can't get even on the first team bench? And Mark, what's your opinion on if Ollie turns it around and wins the Champions League and FA but finishes outside the top 5, says Amir? Well, we're going to talk about that, but look, let me get into this. First of all, I would almost call Manchester United Sneak Energy tomorrow. Sneak Energy Drink, which is an energy drink. I think they're going to get a rush of energy tomorrow. And I don't think it's going to do anybody any favours, but I guarantee Man United will probably get a good result tomorrow, because I think that we're just going to see that thing when you've had an energy drink and you get a buzz. And I think that's what we're going to see from United, because this week is not going to be about tactics. It's not going to be about organisation. It's just going to be about a reaction. It really is like, I've just had a big pint of Sneak Energy. Oh, I'm ready to... It's like Popeye with his spinach. It'll be short-lasted. It will bounce back, and they will just, have this rush of energy tomorrow. I'm fully expecting that, this bounce back. But, as we've seen with Manchester United, when the going gets tough, Ollie gets rough. And I think tomorrow it has to be. He's never had it this hard. I know that the Liverpool game should have been the bounce back game, but he's never had this. Like, he literally shouldn't even be in a job. So this is like this is the creme de la creme. This is the peak of the mountain of Ollie needs to bounce back. And the players have done it before. They did it last year against Everton after Istanbul when we spoke to Poch. So I think that they'll all be eating their spinach tonight. They'll all be drinking their energy drinks, and I think we will see a reaction tomorrow. And I think it's the worst thing. I mean, apart from winning, which is what I want to do, it doesn't mean anything. And what I mean by that is, if we win and everyone starts going, oh, that's it. Well, how can anybody trust that that's it? We've done this so many times before. And it's very easy to go to Spurs having been battered by Liverpool and had your reputation in tatters. I would expect Harry Maguire, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno, everybody who plays tomorrow to be at 100% tomorrow, because they've been humiliated. As professionals, you've been humiliated. So their hunger for that game should be much bigger than Spurs. So I expect a reaction from Manchester United tomorrow. But what if they beat Spurs? Where's their reaction for Atalanta, Man City, Watford? This is the problem with United. When they need to react, they can do. But can they do it game after game after game? No, they can't. And will it be a tactical win tomorrow? Or will it just be moments of, everybody's playing the best they can within a system that is never going to work? So I expect to see a reaction tomorrow, but I think it'll be akin to having a big pint of an energy drink. I just think we'll see this massive energy. I think the players are done with this. I think we will lose comfortably, says Brad. I always want us to win, but the players are over being Stoke, says Bradley. I hope the players are over it. I mean, I genuinely would say that if you are a player that's ambitious, you need this to change. Because ultimately, if you do bounce back for the next 10 games till Christmas, there'll be another bad result at some point, and then it'll be like, we'll be here again. But this could go on for 3 or 4 years. Look at what happened with Wenger. Mark, what's your opinion on if Ollie turns it around? Yeah, okay, so we've done that one. Okay, so that's what I think is going to happen tomorrow. We've got some Ollie comments, but let's just talk about the manager situation for a moment. So Conte, Manchester United, at the moment, very, very unlikely. There's a story in the Telegraph saying that Conte has basically been snubbed, and there's 2 reasons why he's been snubbed. One of them is money. They don't feel that it's worth the money to spend on him. The second one is of his combative nature. They feel that if he comes into the club, he'd moan about how things work and how things, how the club is run. Well, you get what you pay for, and God, we need somebody to come into that club and shake it up. So basically, reading between the lines, Manchester United, as we already know, don't want Conte because the club is incompetent, as we already know. And if anybody, I don't think there's a I think there's Man United fans out there that will stick up for Ollie, but I don't think there's anybody that sticks up for the Glazers. Even Gary Neville, I don't think, would stick up for the Glazers. So ultimately, incompetence reigns, as we've seen this week, and incompetence is the reason they don't want Conte, because it's a character they can't control. If they tried to put strings on Conte, he'd punch him in the face. Like, he's not going to have it. He certainly wouldn't want one on his head because his wig might come off. But he's not going to have any puppets on a string like Ollie. So that's why they don't want Conte, because he's an independent, knows what he wants, successful person. So this is why they don't want Conte. This is why I never thought they would go for Conte, to be honest. But the funny thing is, in the same article, it says that Manchester United have contacted a few agents of managers to sort of start putting plans in place, which is what they should have done ages ago. And their preference is to go for somebody with a bit of Premier League experience. And Brendan Rodgers and Pochettino have been mentioned, both of which would be expensive. But not only that, well, if Conte being expensive is one of the reasons not to go for Conte, Rodgers is going to be expensive because he's at Leicester, who aren't stupid. I mean, we talk about value for money. Leicester was one of the clubs that got 80 million for Harry Maguire. So how much would they want for Brendan Rodgers? And the same for PSG with Pochettino. So the money argument for Conte doesn't work. They'd like a manager with Premier League experience. Has anybody... I know they're incompetent, but has anyone got the email address for Manchester United? Because do they not... They probably don't realise that Conte hasn't only managed Inter Milan. They've probably forgotten or didn't even know because they don't watch football enough. They're probably sat there going, here's a good reason not to get Conte. He's got no Premier League experience. And then someone who's brought the coffee in, who doesn't even work at the club, they just like work in the canteen, goes, he did win the title with Chelsea. Have you heard this, Ed? Stick to making the coffee. He's won things with Chelsea. Well, she's mixing him up with Ranieri. Or that other one, the smoker, the smoking one. Sarri. He's won things in the Premier League. Okay, we'll have coffee in another couple of hours. And then someone checks it on the phone, she's right. I don't think they realise that Conte's actually won the Premier League. So Premier League experienced is Conte, and he'd be cheaper than what you pay for Rodgers. So ultimately, I suppose it's about what you would prefer. Mark, Rodgers is the guy you appoint for a Newcastle when you need someone who takes you to top 4, and we already have that with Ollie. We need Conte, says Juan. Well, he's made his mind up. Hi, Mark. Quick question. Does Koeman leaving Barca affect who we could get in if the results got worse under Ollie? First super chat, says Matthew. No, because I think Barcelona are going for Xavi, so it's not going to make any interest there. If we lose tomorrow, United will get Conte because he's the easiest deal for the board. United will not want to be involved in a coach at another team, says Sean Turner. And do you think the lack of pressure from the board prevented Ollie growing as a manager? I'm still Ollie out, but not enough media attention to the board, in my opinion, says Julian. I mean, look, what I would say about that, Julian, very quickly, I think you raise a really good point. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked, why should Ed Woodward not be sacked? Ed Woodward just seems to be beyond, they're even talking about it, giving him a bit longer. I mean, of course Solskjaer should be sacked and his coaching team should be sacked, but why is Ed Woodward not being sacked? He's been the CEO since David Moyes. He's appointed 4 unsuitable managers. He's basically going to have to sack Ollie, so that'll be 4 sacked managers, and he has to sack Ollie. I think Ollie needs to go more than Mourinho did, more than Van Gaal did, definitely. So he's got to go. And Woodward's presided over this festering, steaming pile of turd for the last 8 years, and yet he's not been sacked. So you're right. Hi Mark, what do you think about Rodney's comments on United players not working hard enough? Well, I spoke about that this morning, Nishant, and you can run around as much as you like, but you're a headless chicken if you haven't got tactics. Busby ruled with an iron fist. Ferguson had somewhat of a free rein. Now Woodward pulling the strings. What a waste. Nothing to do with the United way, says Mass Radley. Exactly. Good point. So for me, before we talk about what Ollie said and a few other bits, I think it's a really interesting thing. I think with Brendan Rodgers, he's going to be expensive to get out of Leicester. So Conte will be cheaper than Rodgers. Then it comes down to... So the money's not the issue. Is Rodgers more malleable? Which means, is he more easy to control than Conte? Yes. Conte is probably one of the hardest managers in world football to control, as we know. But I go back to Rodgers, what I'd say about David Moyes. Now, if David Moyes hadn't managed Manchester United, I guarantee, not many, but maybe a few would be going, why not get David Moyes from West Ham? West Ham are well organised. They play decent football. He's overachieving with West Ham. He's doing a great job. Now, I know nobody will believe me about that because they'll be thinking, well, we've had David Moyes. I can't think like that. But imagine David Moyes had never managed Manchester United. I guarantee some people would be saying go for him. My point behind that is, who's the David Moyes that we're looking at? You know, who is the David Moyes that we think is going to be a good manager? Because we've had that David Moyes. And maybe Brendan Rodgers falls into that. Maybe Ten Hag falls into that. The thing about a Conte and a Zidane, and you know I'd go for Zidane, and I know I'm in the minority, but I would. But the thing about a Conte and a Zidane is, if you go for it and it doesn't work, Premier League winner, Conte. Serie A winner. Champions League winner, Zidane. Like, they have a pedigree. Brendan Rodgers has not won a Premier League. So, you know, to me, you know where I am though. I've got Tottenham are so bad, Mark. Ollie equals lucky manager, says SG. But you know where I am with this. I'm massive on the United way. I brought up on that. I know all about it. My granddad had videos and told me about Busby Babes in the 60s and everything like that. I witnessed the Sir Alex Ferguson years, so I'm fully aware of a club that's, you know, from top to bottom, got one vision and it runs through the club for years and years. But I just don't think we're anywhere near that. And I think when you look at, you know, one of the other reasons that the Woodwards and the Glazers and everybody else on that board want to back Ollie is because they've spent so long talking about this long-term vision and Ollie's the right man. I mean, they only gave him a 3-year contract in July. Like, literally, Mike Phelan got a new contract 3 weeks ago. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think they haven't sacked him because, you know, and this, you never want this at a football club, but we know this is the problem at Manchester United. We just want Roman Abramovich, someone like that who, and I don't mean him specifically, but we want that mindset of, I want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. And if I can't do that, you better get out the way and I'll get somebody who can. That's how you want your football club to run. That's 100% how Manchester United should run. It goes back to standards again. All you should be thinking about is the standards. All the time, standards. They're not dropping. They're not dropping down here. Standards FC. That's all we are. If we drop down there, alarms go off. And if it doesn't get sorted, they're out. Standards. Too much at Manchester United, it's about egos and arrogance and stubbornness. And basically, absolutely nailed on, Manchester United have not moved Solskjaer on this week because they arrogantly think he's the right man. Even though the evidence has been pointing towards the fact that they should have had a contingency plan, they arrogantly think he's the right man. And on top of that, they've spent so long talking about him being the right man. The arrogance, and you'll have met people like this, the arrogance of them is that, well, I'm not admitting I'm wrong. We're going to stick with this. I'm not going to admit that I'm wrong. The trouble is, I'm not going to admit I'm wrong doesn't fit in with millions and millions of Manchester United fans. One person's ego is impacting millions and millions of us. You know, literally, and you can name the names of who it is, they just don't want to admit they're wrong. But the scary thing is, these people who are saying, Ollie's the right man, there's a 3-year contract, they don't know football. Their background in football is probably five-a-side with their mates after a good bank deal. Like, they're bankers. They're not football people. So, Manchester United's problem, obviously Solskjaer needs to be sacked. But I'll tell you now, I was talking about Ten Hag before. Would Jose have won a title if he was around for the team viewer sponsorship change, Oscar? I don't know. The problem isn't Spurs or City, it's Watford. We're expecting a win, says Roger Benjamin. For me, the only way I'll be on Ian is if he wins the league this year, which is impossible, says Conte. We're going to talk about that in a bit, actually. Can Ollie turn it around? Do you think that sometimes you talk a load of old waffle? No, I don't, Matt. I think I actually talk a lot of sense, but you can swivel on that if you want to. It's free. Mark Maguire has been relegated 4 times in his career. How is he our captain, says Rebecca Myers. But you know what I was going to say? Welcome to the Members Club, Anthony Griffiths. What I was going to say is that, you know, people talk about Ten Hag, and whilst Ollie and Solskjaer and Carrick are, and McKenna and Phelan are bad coaches, people talk about Ten Hag. I'll tell you now, at Ajax, Ten Hag has got an amazingly well-run football club. You bring Ten Hag into Manchester United, I think people are being really naive. You bring Ten Hag into Manchester United, and even if you bring his coaching team in, he's got nothing above him. At Ajax, he's got Overmars, he's got Van der Sar, he's got God knows what else. You bring Ten Hag over to England, right? He's got no experience in the Premier League. It's a massive pressure job. The media are a nightmare. He brings his coaches team over. He looks up for support and he sees Ed Woodward on his calculator with Richard Arnold. No matter who we bring in, they don't have support. The board is a massive problem at this football club, as we know. This was supposed to be the season, and then I saw we have the same amount of points at Arsenal. Ollie's a joke as a manager, says Kane. I can't believe we've got the same points of Arsenal. Pochettino, good coach. Rodgers, good coach. Conte, good coach. And Ollie, bad coach. I couldn't care less who replaces them. They're all better than Ollie, says JJ45. And I think that's a great point as well, because ultimately we're all debating who the manager should be. And whilst we're debating, Ollie's still in a job. And I think the common denominator is whoever we go for, do it quick, because the one we've got is not a good coach. I mean, you look at the. I mean, here we go then. Let's play a little game on this one. I mean, look, ultimately my point I'm getting to, because I probably am waffling a bit, is that you bring Ten Hag over, he's got nothing above him to support him like he has at Ajax. You bring Brendan Rodgers into Manchester United, he hasn't got the Liverpool board that were good, he hasn't got the Leicester board that's fantastic, he's got Man United's board. Would you rather have Ten Hag, Brendan Rodgers or Conte with our board? I've not heard anybody discuss this issue. They're all talking about, I'd like this manager, I'd like that manager. At Ajax, Ten Hag's got a great board above him. Leicester, Rodgers has got a great board above him. Conte's the man. Conte's the man. Ronaldo's only here for the next 2 years. Conte probably would be short term, and Conte doesn't give a shit about the board above him. He doesn't need it. He'll just tell him what he needs. He is the man for now, because you bring in a bad board member, you're in massive, massive trouble. So, you know, I think it is a huge issue. Mark, if Ollie finished 5th but won the Champions League, would that be enough for him to get you back on the board, says John Richards? I think somebody just asked me about that. What was it I was just going to talk about? I've completely forgotten. I was going to talk about something else, and then I sort of came back and clarified something, and I've had a complete brain blank. Mark, how can we fans force the Glazers out? We know they are real issues here, so how do we help get our club back being across the world, says Jay Ash. Ultimately, I just think Conte is the right man to bring in at the moment, yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not an easy choice, but ultimately, as I said, you're in that situation where it's Ollie. Ollie's in charge at the moment, and we need to change it. We do need to change it. I don't know many people who aren't. Mark, name your team tomorrow. Good luck, says Megan's dad. And Waffle Bridge, says Matt Beers. Okay, you're gone now. So there you go. Boring. Thanks for the super chats, but there's just no point in somebody who's got no banter. The board wanted a long-term solution and refused to admit they backed the wrong man. They feel they have tried everything, says Pratosaurus Rex. Conte is very, very controversial, I agree, but I also think that that it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. It's a risk. It really is a risk, but I don't know why people think that there's going to be any guarantee anyway. Like, it's all, I just don't get that mindset. It's like people are like, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that. Like, what we've got is good, and like that we've got any right to expect to win things. We're going to be approaching 10 years. We are approaching 10 years without a title. So Hurst Class says the board are considering sacking Solskjaer after last weekend's defeat to Liverpool unless there is an upturn. Yeah, I read that one. I literally read that at the start. I really wish I remembered what was in my mind, because it was a good point and I was in a flow. And I've bloody forgotten it now. The board wanted we've done that from Praxis Rex. Hi Mark, Ollie spent billions, hasn't won anything. Jose, last United manager to win trophies with the way worse squad. That was from Subrith. And Mark, you're wasting time. No manager will succeed in Manchester United until these owners are gone and our fans are weak and divided, says Nabil. I guess Ronaldo, Varane, Bruno can coach Ollie McKenna and Carrick better than the other way round, says Mojo. Ollie's turnarounds always end up as a top four and no trophy. Great. Ollie should never have been offered a new contract after the Villarreal embarrassment, says Michael Nelson. I think with Manchester United, they've, fans have got every right. If United win the Champions League, would you credit Ollie or the squad? We're going to talk about whether Ollie can turn it around in a minute, because we're going to come on to Ollie. And we've spoken about the United District tweet. We literally spoken about it 20 minutes ago. So either start watching the shows from the start or swivel on it. I feel sick. I've got to stop doing that. I feel sick when I realise that a poor performance by PSG that the board gave Ollie a contract, says Desiree. I think United's board is clueless, and they've been proven to be clueless for a very long time. I was out there. I was outside Old Trafford singing Ollie's at the wheel. So I wanted him to get the new contract, but they should have waited till the end of the year. To give him a 3-year deal this summer when he just lost a Villarreal final with more holes in it than, a dartboard, a second-hand dartboard, was just naive. They are naive. They're business people. They're not football people. That football club is crying out for football people. And as we were just saying a couple of minutes ago, people are saying, let's get Brendan Rodgers, let's get Ten Hag, but you're landing them into a situation where there's nothing above them. I actually think that there's very few managers that come into Manchester United and can do a job. And I've got concerns about Conte's style of football. Of course I have. I've got concerns about the sort of players that he might want to bring into the club and the sort of players he might want to take out of the club. But as you know, I'm all for a new United. And it's amazing, because if you'd asked me this a week ago, I would have said, what are you talking about? Can the club sell 51% of ownership, or can you only have one owner, says Ranji. Yes, they can. Carrick will probably become the interim coach, then he will do good and end up being the next coach. Joseph, I don't care if Michael Carrick wins the next 10 games 10-0. I don't want him as coach. Can you comment on my previous comment, says Josh? I would if I could remember what it was. And Mark, what do you think will come first, Premier League title or Champions League title? Mustang, I ain't got a magic wand. I've got no idea. All I can tell you at the moment is we're bloody miles away from any of that. Hi Mark, love what you do. Keep it up. Your show helps grow my love for football. I'm American, so soccer isn't a big deal here. Going to be visiting Manchester United to see Ronaldo soon, says Eddie. Thank you very much. A new manager by January over a new CDM, Mark, says Guantanamo. I'm not doing hypotheticals tonight. Look, we've got too much to talk about to start saying what's your favourite hair colour, what's your favourite bath brand. Like, we're not doing silly hypotheticals about CDM or a new manager. What does it even mean? Oh, I'd rather have a new manager than a CDM. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. We're not. I don't know why people, unless it's like we've got time to fill and it's a bit of a laugh. Why would we talk about hypotheticals that make no sense and I can't actually have any control on it? I want a new manager and I want a CDM. And at Manchester United, that shouldn't be too much of an ask. If Thomas Tuchel was a manager, I think he would win you the league, probably, says Hazard. Well, this is the thing. I think that, as I said, a week ago, I wouldn't have wanted Conte. I'd have said no. I want Zidane, and I still do. But I just think that the club is in a mess again, and we need something short term. And the hilarious thing about long term is it doesn't really exist anymore because of people like Thomas Tuchel. And just on Thomas Tuchel for a moment, I don't know whether anybody saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done an interview with Sky Sports. I think the full interview is coming out at midday tomorrow, but they have released a couple of minutes of it. Spin. Is it just me, or was Ollie super arrogant in the presser? I kind of felt sorry for him until today, says Bradley. And also, Mark, the board need to understand that we are competing with Klopp, Tuchel, Pep, Rodgers, Ten Hag, Poch aren't on the levels Conte is, says Michael Nelson. And welcome to the Members Club, Jay Spencer. But again, the problem with Manchester United is it's very much similar to the English FA. In fact, the way England's run is very similar to the way Manchester United's run. A lot of the mistakes are because of the board, and a lot of the mistakes are because of the FA and the people in power. And I think that Manchester United are so crap at understanding football on that board, they probably think Conte is the same as Mourinho. which is absolutely ridiculous, because even two brands of Ferrari that are exactly the same will drive differently, and yet they will think that Mourinho and Conte are the same thing. And I think that's another reason probably why they don't want him. But in this interview that Solskjaer did, United have to create a new identity. Football has evolved and the board needs to realise that, says King. Well, I saw somebody earlier, it might have been in the chat here, it might have been on Twitter, and they were basically saying there's no such thing as the United way. It was the Sir Alex Ferguson way, who didn't even come from United. He came from Aberdeen. He had his way for over 2 decades and then he retired. Why are we trying to replicate something that he brought exclusively from Aberdeen and created his own United way? And this is what I mean about new United. I want a new United. And you know what? Imagine if you did bring Conte in and he was short term for 2 years and we won a title and then he left and Ronaldo retired, and then you're like, oh, what are we going to do? But then, there's a new Pochettino, there's a new Pep, there's a new Klopp, and you get them. And then they do something for 10 years and you get another United. United are obsessed with this long-term plan, but, there's no guarantee. And who is the, if I said to you right here, right now, just to dwell on this point for a moment before we talk about Ollie's comments, if I said to you right now, you can have any manager in the world that you want to build this United way over the next decade, tell me who it's going to be. Mark, don't you think a draw or loss against Spurs and Atalanta could be the final nail in the coffin for Ollie, regardless of the results against City? I don't know, because I think it should already have happened. How do we as fans force the Glazers out, says Jay Ash? Well, everyone needs to be together for a start, and United fans are divided again. Wouldn't be surprised if next week Steve Bruce is standing outside Old Trafford, says Mustang. And I feel exactly the same as you. Ten Hag would fail because of the board. Conte would explode the club unless they actually want to change, says Thomas M. And the West Ham billionaire will mean we drop even further, says Gordon Murray. Yeah, and I spoke about this yesterday. The way that football's going, and we spoke about this about Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, the way football is going, we're going to get left behind anyway, no matter who the manager is, whether it's Solskjaer, Conte, Zidane, we're going to get left behind anyway. Newcastle, every club's getting a billionaire now that wants to spend money on the club. We've got billionaires who want to take money out of the club. So Glazers, I'll sit here and now and I'll say, even if we get Conte, even if we get Zidane, even if we get Rodgers, even if we get Tuchel, even Ten Hag, we've still got the Glazers in charge, and they're going to make it very, very difficult. Any manager that walks into that club, whether they're good or bad, has always got at least one arm tied behind their back. But, yeah, United are putting this nonsense out that they don't want Conte and they don't want Zidane because they want somebody for the long term. Tell me, even in an ideal world, who would you say is the manager that can do that? Well, even if Pep wasn't at Man City, he's not going to come to United for 10 years. Klopp's not going to do a 10-year thing at United either. So, because he's managing at Liverpool. So, even in a world where you could have anybody, there's no manager out there that you would bring in, and people will start talking about, well, Nagelsmann looks good. What Man United are doing is they're playing with your heads, because they're trying to make you go, yeah, it's not worth going for that good manager because he doesn't fit in with our vision. What they're trying to do is, it's called reverse psychology. They make you not think about, oh yeah, Ten Hag's not right, Rodgers isn't right, Conte's not right, Zidane's not right. Oh, we may as well just stick with Ollie. But that cannot be the option. And I remember what I was going to say now. 2 things. Conte beat Mourinho to a title managing in the same league. We need Conte or Zidane, says Amir. Here's an interesting point for you. And I will then talk about Ollie's... I've remembered what I was going to talk about now. And I will talk about Ollie's comments after that. Look at Manchester United's start to the season. Now, obviously, with some of these, you can talk about results. But I just want to go head-to-head with every manager that we've played against this season, and you tell me who's the better coach. So yeah, we smashed Leeds, but Bielsa's a better coach than Ollie, 100%. 100% a better coach than Ollie. Southampton, Hasenhüttl are definitely a better coach than him. Wolves, can't remember what his name is, but he's a better coach. I think they got him from Benfica. Who did we play after that? Then it was the international break, wasn't it? I mean, the young boys, I don't know enough about the coach there, but, whatever. West Ham, Newcastle, Ollie, Steve Bruce. You'd argue Steve Bruce is a better coach, wouldn't you, really? Who loses 1-6 and 0-5 at home and keeps their job, says Rory Saunders. We'll be talking about that in a moment. Steve Bruce, I mean, look, maybe, okay, but we've got 1, 2, 3 already better than him. Steve Bruce, I'm on the fence a bit about that. David Moyes is a better coach than Ollie. We're not talking about style of play. We're talking about coaching. David Moyes is a better coach than Ollie. Emery is a better coach than Ollie. Dean Smith, probably a better coach than Ollie, to be fair. Can never pronounce the Atalanta coach. Definitely a better coach than Ollie. He's a better coach than Bielsa, I think. Benitez is a better coach than Ollie. Rodgers is a better coach than Ollie, and obviously Klopp is. So how many games have we played this season? We've played about 13, 14 games. He's arguably only played against one coach that he's better than. Can you not see the problem? And look, we could be in a title race, and I'd still say the same, because the whole thing with Ollie is, and I think where we need to get to this is that Manchester United do not need to handicap themselves. You know, when you play golf and you play a different handicap to other people to make it more competitive. We haven't won a title for nearly 10 years, and we've got a very good squad, but we've got a coaching setup that handicaps us. And what I mean by that is, we could be in a title race, but I'd still say Bielsa's a better coach than Ollie, Benitez is a better coach, because as coaches they are. The reason we'd be in a title race is because we've got a better squad with better players. But why can we not have one of the best coaches in the world with one of the best squads in the world? At the moment, we've got one of the best squads in the world, and we've got a coaching setup that no Premier League team would want, and arguably most of the Championship wouldn't want. How can that be right? You know, speaking pragmatically, we're a few days after the Liverpool game. We've got the excitement of the match tomorrow, so we can speak in a more pragmatic, calm view. Why have Manchester United put themselves into a position where they've got the club, the fans, the squad, but they've got a coaching setup that absolutely nailed on 100% true, no other Premier League club would want? No other Premier League club would take our manager and coaches over what they've got. So why have we got them? I'm not going to come back on it. Why have we got them? Who's outside of Klopp and Pep? Why wait? Conte, says Dexter. And how many of them second Marky, says Liam Deegan. I don't know what you're talking about, Liam. I just don't know what you're talking about. Please smash a like on the video, by the way, and subscribe, bottom right hand corner. So yeah, it just there's a lot of things that have come into my head over the last week thinking this through. I'm absolutely stunned by the incompetence, but you know that is the bit, isn't it? You know, whether you like Ollie or you don't like Ollie, because for me it's not about Ollie out or Ollie in, it's about standards. And I know I've said that a million times, but I think it's so important that I don't want to fall into the divisive argument. I don't think it does us any favours as United fans. We dream the same dream, we want the same thing, we want success. So I use standards, because the one thing you can always have a conversation about any fan, even if you don't get on with them, is standards. What's your standards for Manchester United? You know, ex-players, fans, media. What's the standards for Manchester United then? No, before you start arguing about having an agenda or this, that and the other, what's your standards? My standards are competing for the title every year, deep into the Champions League, and a domestic trophy. I think that's what United should be going for every year. What do you think? I agree. Why are you moaning about? Why are you moaning about people saying that Ollie and his coaches need to go then? Because they can't do that. Well, they could. No, well, they can't, because they're anywhere near good enough for Manchester United or Liverpool or even Everton. So, you know, it's interesting. Mark, the only coach he's better than lost his job, says Heltz. Okay, so look, let's have a quick look at some of Ollie's comments, because I do want to talk about whether Ollie can turn this around and the Spurs game. The league could be full of billionaire clubs, which would make the league more exciting, but I think that would eventually force the Glazers out, says Gordon Murray. Well, someone needs to force the bloody Glazers out. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done this interview. Now, the full interview will come out at midday tomorrow, but some of the things that have been leaked. Ollie has said that his 18 years at Manchester United are not going to be defined by these past few weeks, and we'll do what we always do. We'll react and we will fight. And he mentioned that as a player, he remembered losing to Southampton by 6 goals, Newcastle to 6 goals, and you know that those things are hard to take, but you have to react as a club. There's 2 things I would pick out about that. Can we start a GoFundMe to pay Ollie's severance, says Michael Nolan. There's 2 things I'd pick out about Ollie there. Again, look, if you interview Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's going to be spin. Of course it is. It's got to be a reaction. He's got to be defiant. But there's 2 things I would pick out about that. Second time this week I've heard Phil Neville do it, and now I've heard Ollie mention losing to Newcastle 5-0. That Newcastle game was at St James's Park. I remember Schmeichel vividly getting lobbed by Albert. The Southampton game was the dodgy kit game at the Dell. I don't think it was St Mary's. Southampton and Newcastle will never be our biggest rival. We lost 5-0 to Liverpool at Old Trafford, and they were 4-0 up at half time, and for the last half an hour they were saving their legs for the Carabao Cup or whatever else. The fact that our manager, or Phil Neville, or anybody else, is naive enough to mention Newcastle beating us 5-0 or Southampton putting 6 past us in the same sentence of what we saw last Sunday and what we have been seeing against Leicester is a bloody joke. It's the biggest cover-up I've seen. It's a joke. So I don't know what that's all about, but I've heard that twice, and now I've heard it from the manager of Manchester United about bloody Southampton and Newcastle losses in the same sentence as a Liverpool loss. So I don't know what that's all about, other than standards. Have we got an elevator for standards? What level are you going to? Well, I was hoping to go to the top floor, but it looks like we're going down to the lower ground. Oh no, basement. Lower basement. You know. The second thing that Ollie said is that he's not going to let the next few weeks define his 18 years at the club. Well, this is the one. This is the one, because this is what we're talking about. Sentimentality blackmail. Why are we mentioning 18 years, Ollie? Why are you mentioning 18 years? Your legendary status as a player is already secure. Why are you mentioning 18 years? And this is the problem. I've had it, and I think some people still have it. Maybe some of you never had it. My emotional attachment to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is because I remember watching Ole Gunnar Solskjaer scoring big goals for Manchester United, and I like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So, of course, that emotional attachment is there. But you have to park it. It's because otherwise, when you hear Roy Keane talking nonsense, or Gary Neville or Paul Scholes, if you always think of them as the legend footballer, you're just going to hang off every word. Oh my God, I don't agree with what he's saying, but it's Roy. So why is 18 years relevant? Like, the only thing that's relevant about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the last 2.5 years as Manchester United manager, and it's very difficult. But you have to park the player thing. Mark, did you see Simon Jordan's comments on Neville, Adam McCormack? No, I haven't. So yeah, I think that I don't think there's anything in defence of Ollie. Is there anything he could say that's going to make you feel comfortable with him still being the Manchester United manager? And that's the only thing I would say, because somebody said this at the start of the week. If they keep Ollie in the job, it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts. And what they meant by that is, the printed press, newspapers, I know it's all online now, they're just going to be writing pages after pages against him, and it's going to cut him. And ultimately, there is nothing that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can say. I actually feel that the incompetence of the board have left him hanging out to dry. The logical thing that would have happened at any other big club is that he would have been sacked. I mean, I know it's ridiculous to think that Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola could be sacked, but if Jurgen Klopp had had a crap start to the season and was playing crap football and it's very hard because Klopp's won a league title, he's won a Champions League. But imagine if Klopp had the last 2.5 years at Liverpool at Manchester that Ollie's had, where he hadn't won anything, semi-finals, the football wasn't great, and then he, starts the season badly with fantastic players, gets hammered by Leicester, and then loses 5-0 at Anfield to Manchester United, and then in the midweek Carabao Cup games, United fans are singing Klopp's at the wheel and this, that, and the other. They'd sack him. The only reason you can't relate this situation to Liverpool and Man City is because their managers have achieved things, so there's a level of loyalty because of that. When you're imagining it, you've got to put an Ollie and his coaches into Liverpool and say, well, they've never won anything, they've bottled a few finals, the football's not been great, and this situation's there now. Any other big club would have made a difference. I think Solskjaer's getting insecure, says AJ. I do think we'll get a result tomorrow, though. I do. I do think we'll get a result tomorrow. As I say, sponsored by Sneak Energy Drinks. I just think that the players will react. I'd be stunned if the players don't react, but I don't think it will do us any favours, because reacting because you've lost to Liverpool and everyone's slating you is easy. But what about if you beat Spurs and you beat Atalanta? you're going into that Man City game, you haven't got as big a point to prove suddenly, have you? You've had a couple of good results now. We know you can't trust this United team under Ollie. We know when the going gets going in the big games, we will bottle it. But I'd be stunned if they don't respond, Marvin. If they don't respond, it looks really bad on the board. Because if they don't respond, it means they think the same as the fans, that this needs to end ASAP. In which case, you know, it made the board look even more stupid. I suppose the big thing is in relation to, do I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Well, I want your comments on this mainly. So here we go. Do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can turn this around? Is there any way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can turn this around? And without, look, let's be a bit grown up about this. Without just going, no, he's crap, he lost to Liverpool and anything like that. Is there any way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can turn this around? And if there is, what does it look like? And I suppose I'll sort of start it off before some of the comments come in. Loads of people saying no. I mean, a few people are saying, I hope we lose. Most people are saying no. I don't... how poetic would it be that Donny van der Beek saves Ollie's job, says Salah Ahmed. But you know what? He won't save his job. Because even if Van der Beek plays well tomorrow and plays well, I guarantee you in a month we'll be back to McTominay and Fred. Whatever team he picks tomorrow, and he might make a few changes. I wouldn't be surprised if Lingard starts and Bruno's on the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if Telles starts and Shaw's on the bench. But there's no long-termism in that. I mean, Lingard's not even signed the new contract yet. Is he going to sign a new contract when he thinks Solskjaer's going to get the sack? So tomorrow can only be sneak energy, Popeye spinach. It's just a reaction game tomorrow. There'll be no longevity. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the result, whatever team he picks, there's no long-termism in it. Because it will be steeped, drenched, soaked in contradiction. If he drops McTominay and Fred, well, he never wanted to do that. If he drops Bruno, well, there's no long-termism in that. If he drops Shaw, I mean, it won't make any sense. It's really, tomorrow is just about winning. For Ollie, for the players, for the fans. It's just about winning that game. It's such a difficult game to take any momentum from. I don't think he'll get sacked if we lose, because Atalanta's the game on Tuesday. So I just think again, we're in the hands of the board. It makes no sense for Ollie. It makes no sense for the fans. And all anybody wants to do is win. Don't entertain that idea, Mark. I don't want to think of things turning around. I want him out, says Yellow Bathing Suit. And I love United, but I hope we lose, says United We Stand. Well, lots of people are saying, you know, he can't turn it around. I think for me, I agree. You know, calmly, pragmatically looking at it, what would it take for it to turn it around? And Whack Him Low is now available, worth a look at, says Kenny. Oh, I think the British press would destroy him though, because of the smelly fingers thing, wouldn't they? Probably. You know how petty they are. Do I think he can turn it around? Well, tactically, I don't think he's got any tactics. So where's he going to find some tactics in October? So I don't think he can tactically change it. I just don't think. You can't just switch that on and off. He's been here 2.5 years. I just don't think him and his coaches are tactically very good. I think the players can get him out of danger, but I don't think he can. I think the best case scenario is we go back to last season where we grind out results, but I don't think we can do that anymore, because I think we did it a certain way and teams have figured it out. So I don't think he can turn it around, because I don't think him or his coaches are good enough. I also know we're not consistent enough, so we'll never win a trophy that's valuable like a Champions League or a Premier League. And to be honest with you, a Carabao Cup, a Europa League, an FA Cup, well, we've seen Mourinho and Van Gaal win those. So by definition, if he was to win as a Europa League, a Carabao Cup, or a league or an FA Cup, the standards are dropped anyway. So he can't turn this around if you've got standards as a fan. No, he can't. To do it, you'd have to play good football, which he's not capable of, and he'd have to win the league this season, which we're not capable of. So he can't turn it around. All that can happen is standards can be lowered and he can survive. That's all. That's the only solution. 4th place, maybe a Carabao Cup. That's all he can achieve. And that's not what we're meant to be doing. So I think, you know, by definition, Solskjaer's only survival route is to lower the standards. There's no way we're going to play good football or win a league title, which is what we're meant to be doing. So no, I don't think he can turn it around. I think he can survive. I definitely think he can survive. He survived this week, but to win me back, or well, it's an individual choice. He won't win me back. I'll put up with it because I have to, but he won't win me back because he won't be able to do what's needed to be done, which is play good football and win the biggest prizes, and we'll never do that. So I just don't think he'll turn it around. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be sat here in May singing Ollie's at the wheel, and I bloody well would, and I'd say, you know what, well done. But it ain't going to happen because we've been waiting for it to happen for a long time, and whatever we're thinking as fans, there will be cracks in the players' mentality as well. I mean, look, somebody made a good point. As much as we think there'll be a reaction from United tomorrow, we are playing in a very busy stadium that's not our own, and if Spurs start well, we can't call upon our fantastic home support. No offence, but you've been expecting us to turn up for a while now. I don't expect a reaction tomorrow, says Gordon Murray. Well, no offence taken. When someone shows you who they are, believe them in. 2.5 years, I haven't seen anything to indicate you can turn it around. No more chances, says the Goodman Chronicles. And the reason why the team back then fought back was a bollocking and respect for club and manager, not cuddle time and like me, says Digi. And I'm very wood we will never get out of this mess, Mark, says Darren R. I mean, that's a bigger question. Welcome to the Members Club, Cormac, by the way. Thanks for joining. If you want to become a member, you can click the Members Join Club and get your badge next to your name. I mean, look, I can't, as much as fans, we've got no power to sack Solskjaer, but more importantly, as fans, we can't get the Glazers out. And no matter what the next step is, unfortunately, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, we've spoken about the cycle a lot. There is a cycle, unfortunately, at United now, and you know what that cycle is. New manager comes in, gets a bit of money, gets us to second, might win us a domestic minor trophy. Things go wrong in year 3, they quite rightly get sacked. New manager comes in, we hope again. And that's what's been happening. It happened with Van Gaal, it's happened with Mourinho, and now it's happened with Ollie. And all three of them, I've agreed with every single sacking. I've just realised Ollie's not been sacked, but I've agreed with every single sacking. But the problem is, the reason we're not building is because a manager can very rarely do it on their own. They cannot have a board like our board. They've got to have a board that's going to, give them no excuses. And every manager we've had, whether it's Van Gaal, Moyes, Mourinho, when they've been allowed to talk about their time at Manchester United, they've let the cat out of the bag. And look, when Ollie does get sacked, I'm sure at some point, well, maybe he won't with Ollie. He's not that sort of a guy, is he? To be honest with you, that's a reason to sack Ollie, because he'll never say anything about how the club treated him. He'll just be positive, won't he? Remember, it doesn't matter what we think. If Ollie says he can get the top 4, the Glazers will think he's turn it around, says Raven. And if Board doesn't sack Solskjaer now, this will be a long goodbye once we miss top 4. He will be removed in the summer. This season will go to waste, says Abraham. Jimmy Garner says, you can say you don't think he can turn it around, but people here saying they don't want him to. What has this community become beyond toxic, says Jimmy Garner. And Mark, did you watch Never Give In, Sir Alex Ferguson? You're so right about standards. When Aberdeen won the Cup, Sir Alex Ferguson was so angry because the team didn't play well. I have, Kane, and yeah, you're right. Roberto Martinez is a great man to drive the club forward. He's technically astute. Look how far Belgium have... Oh, I can't stand... Sam, I cannot stand Roberto Martinez. I cannot stand Roberto Martinez. I've never liked him as a coach. I don't think he's all that. I think he gets away with it. I thought he was crap at Everton. I thought at Wigan he did quite well. And at Belgium he's got an international football. Gareth Southgate wins a lot of games in international football. He's bloody useless. I do not want Roberto Martinez near that club, but it wouldn't surprise me if the club went for him. But no, I don't rate him at all. I don't think he's a very good coach, and I think he's another yes man as well. So maybe they'll go for him. I wouldn't want Martinez. I'd rather have Potter. I'd rather try Potter from Brighton than do that. No, I wouldn't want him at all. But I think we're in for a very interesting day. But look, there was one thing I wanted to say as well. I think the damage that's been done this week. I've had people messaging me. I've read messages on social media, from fans that you would think would be really loyal to Ollie and have been really... I've been very loyal to Ollie, that's the thing. But, people I knew that were ridiculously loyal to Ollie and have gone, no, we need to change it. We need to change it. And I think that whilst there are flip-flop fans out there, most football fans do have football morals on what they believe. And look, I was very stubborn about Ollie. And I did it with Mourinho. And I probably need to learn, because with Van Gaal, I was out. I was one of the first Van Gaal outers. If you go back and watch United stand, I was out. I was Van Gaal out 5 months before he got the sack. It was very early. And there was times when I thought, shit, I've jumped too early. He's going to survive. I went ridiculously early, and I learned a little bit there that you don't want to go too early, because I didn't doubt myself, but I felt I went really early. Mourinho, I went at the right time, although I could have gone earlier. With Ollie, probably gone a little bit late with Ollie, and I put that down to emotional blackmail because I like him. But what I would say is that McFred tomorrow, says Matt Hayes. I'll talk about that in a moment. What I would say about Ollie is that I was Ollie out after the Liverpool game, and I think a lot of people are and believe he should be sacked. And I think most of you are like me, and most people who don't watch this channel, who don't like fan content but love Manchester United, are Ollie out. They don't need to chant it, but they probably don't even like to say it, but they are. And a lot of those people are the sort of fans that are not going to change their mind back. And I think that's something that United haven't realised, really, is that so many people have made their mind up on Solskjaer and Carrick and everybody else now. They ain't coming back. Because it's not that they don't want to come back. And I don't know why I'm talking in the third person. It's not that I don't want to come back and support Solskjaer and Carrick and everyone else like that. All I ever wanted was for them to be successful. And because I wanted them to be more successful than Mourinho and I did with Van Gaal, because they've got that connection to the club. I mean, the dream is that works. But how often does it work? I mean, look at what happened with Lampard. So I think I invested so much time and so much patience and so much hope in the Solskjaer regime that now I've decided it's not right. I ain't going to come back. Because to come back, it would have to be a ridiculous running streak where we play fantastic football and we win the title, and that's not going to happen, so I'm not going to come back. I'll celebrate the team winning, because I always put Manchester United above any manager, any player. It's Manchester United winning. I want it to win. But you can want the team to win and not believe in the manager, and I just don't believe in the manager. And I think this is something that United, in their arrogance, have not got their head around. So many fans are not going to come back to trusting this manager. They'll support the team because that's what you must do, but I don't think they're going to come back. And United think that they can win them back, but the only way to... football fans aren't stupid, and Man United fans aren't stupid. The only way to win us back is to go on an amazing running streak playing fantastic football. Well, that's not going to happen. We might go on a winning streak. We did it last year. Crappy moments football, but that's not going to be enough. I don't think it's about winning now. I think it's about resetting and changing. Mark, what about Potter? I've watched a couple of Brighton matches and have quite enjoyed the way they play. Again, he's a bit like Ten Hag for me. Can he manage a big club? Why did Zidane reject Man United? We don't know that he did, Anabath. And I never thought he was good enough and should be gone. But if he played like the first 3 months, he could go into winter break and replace coaches, says Joseph. He won't replace his coaches, Joseph. Jay says, to be honest, I wouldn't mind Conte with a back five. I think we'd get better results with Conte in a back five. Jay, the guy there with the blog, Matt said, will it be McFred tomorrow? The interesting thing is, if he goes with 3 centre-backs tomorrow and a back five, sack him. I mean, he should be sacked anyway, but if he goes with a back five tomorrow, what's the excuse not to get Conte? So it's very interesting how Ollie lines up tomorrow. Watch Spurs versus West Ham. Also, Harry Kane looks terrible. We should beat Spurs easily, says Red Baron. We should do, but remember, we're away. If this was at home, I'd fancy us, although they beat us 6-1 last time. The team tomorrow, I've got no idea. I mean, Matic should play. Donny could play, I doubt it. He could find a place. Cavani, Sancho, Lingard, Telles, Bailly. I mean, there's loads of things he could do. The only 3 I'd be nailed on are going to start are De Gea, Maguire and Ronaldo. They're the only 3 I can... And Varane. The rest of them, I'm not sure how he's going to line up. But as I said, I mean, the team news tomorrow is it's such a difficult game tomorrow. All I want is United to win. I can't look beyond 90 minutes in a win. After the game, I can't talk to you about this is the start of something new. That'd be bullshit. It's just about winning. It's almost about winning the game and just switching off till Atalanta, because you know, I can't get behind this regime anymore. It needs to change, but we've been saying that all week. But a horse can get behind the team, and I want it to win. It's the smiling that does it. Walk off, throw things, do something, says Digi. Yeah, but you know what, Digi? It's like picking Van der Beek tomorrow. Do you want him to pick Van der Beek tomorrow and start screaming and shouting on the touchline? It's fake. It's Van der Beek. He's never wanted to pick Van der Beek, and now he's going to do it because the fans want it to try and keep his job. I'd respect him more if he doesn't keep Van der Beek and he's to keep smiling, because at least that's Ollie. You know, at least he's been pure to himself. And my only thing with Ollie is, I think he's a nice guy. I think he's tried his best. I bet he's worked his arse off. He's just not good enough. You know, he's just not good enough. I could walk into, you know, Google tomorrow and they'd say you're head of bloody programming, and I'd try my best, but I'd mess it up. Sometimes you're just not good enough at a job that you want to be good enough at. That's life. Hey, and I think that's the story with Ollie. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Hey Mark, do you think we're going to be the new Tottenham, says United Ansha? How can we be the new Tottenham? They can't take trophies away that we've won. Tottenham don't win trophies. We have won trophies. We can't be the new Tottenham. Anyway, that's going to bite me now, isn't it, if they beat us? But you know what? We need a bit of fight tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video and subscribe. I did the Ollie press conference reaction earlier, so you can check that out on the channel. And of course, tomorrow, big day, we will be live for the watch along, which is 5:30 kickoff. I'm also doing Arsenal versus Leicester on That's Football at lunchtime. It's a big day for football tomorrow, actually. There's a lot of football going on. So all afternoon tomorrow, I'll be doing a lot of streaming. So thanks everyone for watching. And Apollo's just given us his team. He says, I'd go 4-3-2-1, Matic, Fernandes and McTominay behind Sancho, Rashford and Ronaldo, Shaw, Maguire, Varane and Wan-Bissaka. We'll see. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon. Take care. And I'll speak to you in a bit.